Good morning and welcome in everyone. Before we get into this morning's update, I want to go over a quick overview of what is transpiring throughout the entire crypto market. As we can see, it's completely red this morning. Bitcoin went all the way down to around 98,000. It's trying to rebound right now. And the good news is for Bitcoin, all it did is it back tested a symmetrical triangle breakout. And as of right now, it's still on the top side. If it can bounce off of here and break up, it still has a potential back up to, what is that, 110,700. And then the pattern overall is still there. It needs to break down the symmetrical triangle and then fall below that rising broadening wedge to break down and have a technical drop to 74K. XRP, it's pretty simple. That little bull flag we were targeting broke to the downside. We had a target for the downside to $2.68. Or if it would have broke out, it could have went up to $3.62. That breakout wasn't validated. And now we can see the drop down. And I'm going to delete the arrow because that's in our way right now. But it came right down to where we were talking about. It actually fell all the way down to $2.65, which is interesting because the fact it came all the way down there but didn't come down to 260 is very telling. $2.60, there was a fair value gap that it would have been very nice to just take that out. The fact we didn't is interesting, but it's created a opposite. So we talked about on the drop that if it dropped down that you could potentially have a big W reversal. That's now what you'd be playing off of. However, now that it's come down this far, you can start to build a pattern out a little bit more simplistic here. And we'll draw it in just so everybody can see it. But, I mean, you've got this little... And then if you bring it down, because it filled out that technical drop. So now it's to a larger scale. It really is. I mean, that's a much larger scale now of what we were looking at before. So we'll see how this plays out. We'll see if that's the bottom. And if this is a true consolidation and it revs up here. If it doesn't rev up and this plays down, one could argue that it's creating a little bit of a bear flag right here. If that plays out bearish, and then you can simply, well, how much farther would this go? Well, if it falls outside of this, let's just say it falls out, then you come back and you do a real retest here. Again, I mean, not even a retest, but this, if it comes down this next step, this is where it gets into some trouble. That next drop, if it were to fall out of this, I mean, just a simplistic analysis would bring it down to like that $2.15 mark. If this starts happening, some of our fears are going to be realized. With all these meme tokens running wild and all of these things that are starting to take place in the world outside of crypto, there's a very real chance that all of this negative noise can drop this price like crazy. Now, the interesting part is every single time Michael Saylor says he's about to buy Bitcoin, it seems to just have a collapse along with crypto. And then it starts to pick up. Right now, I am not nervous in the least. The 4-hour time frame, we came down to the 200. The only thing it did was it came down in our flag we had set up. And if it were to break down, the target was around $2.68. It came down to 265. The fair value gap is at 260, so I would have loved to have seen that. All we had to do was come down just a little bit farther, down to about that area. Maybe 262 would have got the job done. But it is in that area. We've come within the area now, at least. Coming down, we've come within the area. And now it really does look like this little channel. Falling channel in this regard. But this has to play bullish. If this breaks down, you're looking at that $2.15 mark. And unfortunately, instead of breaking out to that $3.50 area, it broke down to the technical drop of $2.65. And unfortunately, that's what happened. We've had a lot of negative attention here. We've had a lot of negativity for utility because the money's being pulled out and put into memes. Some people are trying to correlate Trump putting the on Colombia yesterday, the tariffs, the 50% tariff. I'm not sure that had anything to do with crypto, but it's definitely, the markets are starting to shake out in a certain way. So let me do the intro and then we'll get through this for the next couple minutes. I wanted to do an overall analysis before I even got started, just so everybody could see exactly what is starting to transpire this morning. So good morning, 7:56 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Monday, January 27th, 2025. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. So as we can see, XRP did drop out. But I'm not too worried about this. It doesn't feel like it was anything more than coming down to support. Could we say that cleared the FVG? Not exactly. Like the fact it came all the way down to 265 and didn't hit that 260 area or 262 is kind of... You really wanted it to fill that $2.60 gap. I mean, it's so close. Could one argue that that filled it? I'm sure you could say it's within the realm. It came close. But today's going to be a very interesting day in crypto. Now that it's in this channel, it broke down, and now we can confirm that it's in a wider channel. Some can still argue that it's in a descending wedge, but if you start arguing that, then you got to look at it slightly different, and, well, it's probably not going to work in a favor. But now if XRP, let's just measure this equally, because I do like to see both sides. So let's say it gets back on top of here, yada, 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 so on and so forth. It's still in the same area. That doesn't change anything for target-wise. The only thing is now you're on the bottom side of some of these areas. Don't really want to start bringing in these death crosses and then bringing in these running momentum to the downside. So we're going to want to stay inside this channel and then break bullish eventually. That's just the way it's got to be. This is the way it's looking right now. And with that fallout, it makes it very obvious that it's a wider channel. I mean, one could argue this is a bull flag still. It's just if it falls outside of this, that's where the trouble starts. I'm not worried about this initial drop. It's if it falls outside of this, because you have resistance, support, back up to a resistance, back down to a support. So, I mean, you've got boom, 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 boom. Now, if it plays out, it could be very special. This is where you could create that big bullish Gartley on that drop like we talked about before the drop. If the drop happened, we're looking for bullish scenarios on a drop. Nice bounce back so far. Like I said, though, I would have loved to have seen that drop down to 260. It just doesn't make much sense to come all the way down here and not tap 260. And that could be the rounding of a top, too. So we're going to have to pay attention here this morning. Very, very close attention. If you're looking to get in the market and you're trying to figure out what exchanges to use real quickly, I'll just go over what I have here and then go back into the chart because I got to get going here because my son's got school. Got to get him there by 8:20 this morning. Then I'm going to go to the gym and get a nice workout. But anyhow, BITUNIX is the lowest spot in leverage trading fees. They have the lowest maker-taker fee, whether you're a spot trader or leverage trader. They have XRP and so many more. That's my A1. And then HOTCOIN's also a no KYC, just like BITUNIX. And they've got XDC, VELO, and things like that. But for fair warning, when drop points hit and we hit certain levels of support, I'm looking to capitalize outside and secure profit for companies that are outside the USA. So certain things that are outside the USA on drops like this, there's certain levels that I am no problem taking profit. So I'm not going to disclose anything like that going deeper, but I will say I'm looking to get rid of some of my holdings, and I have outside the USA. And I'm focusing on USA-based companies because it looks like in the USA, we're going to get tax exempt for USA trade crypto companies in the space. So my focus is absolutely on USA-based companies. So anytime I get a nice volatile swing that I can push out for even more profit in some of my non-USA holdings, I'm getting rid of them. And I talked about that yesterday when the prices were a little bit higher. But now I'm looking at the rest of the market, and the rest of the market is just red. It's very red. Opportunities setting up here big time. Big time. So don't be afraid of the market, but at the same time, this is the first layer of where you have to take an honest look and say, is the market done? Nope, it's not done. You know why? Because as of right now, we at least held the back test of a symmetrical triangle. That means the market still has life if it can hold this back test. And then it still has the potential here to 122,000. That's the technical target out of the cup and handle when this first started. And then for XRP, we're still in okay shape. We're still inside this channel. It just now it's showing itself more. We were in a smaller channel before, but now that it broke down to the bearish side, it hit the exact technical drop it was supposed to. Now the question is, does it come back down to $2.60 and fill the FVG, or does it power out of here? Because right now, if it pulls down any farther, you could absolutely see a head and shoulders developing. If this comes all the way down to 215, that's a head and shoulders. If this is a bear flag that on this drop, that'll bring it down to 215. So immediately what you want to see by XRP is you want to see it pull back over that $2.97 mark and push back over the 200-day and the 2-hour. Got to reverse that. I'm XRP Future Millionaire. Take this to heart. Listen deeply and intently on what I'm saying. Don't let your emotions dictate your response, but this is definitely one of those days where you've got to let yourself see the technicals and see the way it's setting up. So if you have to do it, watch this twice. I'll be back later for the short after I go to the gym and have my son dropped off at school, probably around 11 a.m. And then we'll touch base tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the live. Should be a very interesting one. A lot of opportunity out here. And I want everybody to pay attention to exactly what's going on in reality. Bitcoin, right now, you have nothing to worry about. It back tested the symmetrical triangle. And now, as long as it stays over the symmetrical triangle area, this is still bullish for Bitcoin. It needs to stay over 97,390. If it goes below that, then it starts breaking down a little bearish. If it comes below 91,000, there's a drop to 74K on the deck. So just pay attention to that. Have a blessed morning, everyone.